God made me choose ethics over money. And the reason I wanted to share this story is because if you are in the marketing industry, especially as a freelancer or a consultant, you need to be aware of this so you do not make the mistake that I almost made. So I got started in this industry about 5 years ago. I just looked up online, how do you make money online? Basically stumbled across copywriting and just figured out, hey, I'm going to go towards this. And so I landed a couple clients early on. I was making 3-4K a month, and I wanted to start making good money though. I saw guys that were making 50K, 100K, and I don't really want to make an agency or anything like that. I want to just do this myself because I see these other guys doing it. And so I started asking, okay, well, how do I do that? And one of my buddies said, hey, you need to talk to someone who's a copywriter who's already doing this and get advice from them. And I was like, great idea. Awful idea, because I wasn't actually filtering who is giving me this advice. I didn't think about that at that time because, dude, I was 19 or 20 years old. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just trying to make money, and that was it. So what ended up happening is I found this guy locally who was actually a fairly successful copywriter. He had really good industry connections. He'd been doing it for a while. He's making great money. And I came to him and I asked him, hey dude, how do I go about landing bigger clients and landing more clients? And he told me, that's easy. Just come to my house on this day, this time. I'm going to show you everything you need to know. And I was like, okay, why not? So I showed up at his house. We sat down at his kitchen table. We had both our laptops out, and he said, here's what I'm going to do. And he sent me a PDF, basically spreadsheet of every single ClickBank offer owner. And if you don't know what ClickBank is, it's basically Sodom and Gomorrah for businesses. And you may think, oh, Nick, that's crazy. That's not really it. People that do know ClickBank. And the truth is, yes, it is. Let's just call it for what it is. ClickBank is a high-risk product website for affiliates filled with people that have no morals whatsoever. Okay. And look, that's about 90% of the products on ClickBank. Okay. I'm sure there's some good ones. There's some ones with really high quality products. Sure. But 90% of the products, so the overwhelming majority of products on ClickBank, are bullshit. They're scam products. They don't help people at all. And almost all of them, the marketing is extremely aggressive and manipulative. And people will say, well, what's the difference between persuasion and manipulation? Persuasion is convincing you to do something that is for the betterment of you, your life, your family, etc. Guess what? Manipulation is actually, it's at the detriment of you, your life, your family. And the truth is that most of the products that are being sold there are just absolute garbage. They're not real. And go watch the VSLs. You tell me if after watching a VSL from ClickBank, you feel good about yourself and you actually feel like, yeah, that's an ethical business. And I'm sure that the people there that are running it are just good people. I mean, just to further back up my point, ClickBank is also a payment processing gateway. That's ClickBank. It's a bank as well. It's the only fucking website that will process the payments for these products because they're such high risk payments. And it's the only business that will also find affiliates for that product because everyone just goes there. So take my word for it. I think that it's actually just basically a bunch of scammers who are just really cool with just scamming people on shitty products, okay? And they'll stand by it and they'll say it's fine. There's not an issue. There's plenty of good businesses. And here's what I say. Truth is one, perception is many. And the perception, the little gray area, that's the devil's playground. And I don't want to fuck around there. Now, me being a kid at the time, I didn't really know what that was. I didn't really understand ClickBank. I didn't know what it was. And so I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And so I went and I just emailed every single one of those people in 4 hours straight. And the next day, one of them responded to me and said, hey, I like this message. We went back and forth. We got on a call and he said, here's what we're looking to do. We are trying to sell a survival guide that basically shows how to prepare for the end of the world. And the way we want to do it is we want to have a VSL using the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, talking about, hey, here's why the world is ending. You need to buy this survival guide. To me at the time, I'm like, great, that sounds super fun. Oh my God, just younger Nick, you're an idiot. Like, you're so dumb. Why'd you do that? Because I wasn't thinking straight. I wasn't thinking about the moral complications of what I was doing. I wasn't thinking about the ethical dilemmas at all. That's not a thing that I was even thinking about. I was just trying to figure out how to make money, right? So I said, sure. And they were like, how much do you want for it? And I said, $6,500. And they said, sure. I was like, oh my God, that's the most I've ever charged for it. And so I was like ecstatic. And I started writing this thing and I started to feel this, I don't know, knot forming in my stomach, in my gut. This doesn't feel right. I'm using the Bible to sell something that I looked at the product as well, and it was just a piece of shit product. It wasn't a good product at all. It was spelling errors throughout the whole guide. That's not what you should do if an EMP hits. It was just a very low quality product. So I started to feel, this doesn't feel right, but I just kept pushing forward. At the time, I was living with a friend. His name was Kyrie Oliver. And he basically told me, hey dude, you're fear mongering. When I told him about this project, we were driving home from grabbing Chinese food one day, and he just said, you're fear mongering. And I was like, I don't even know what that word was. What does that mean? He goes, you're lying to be able to spread fear to sell a product. And that's wrong. I am doing that. And I didn't sleep that night. I remember him saying that, and then me getting home, he went to go FaceTime his now wife. I just sat downstairs, ate my Chinese food, went up to my bed and just was laying there. Oh, I'm a piece of shit. This isn't good. But I ignored it because $6,500 at the time, that felt like the right thing to do, you know? But it started to gnaw at my soul. You're selling yourself. You're selling your ethics. But again, just kind of kept pushing forward. So then what happens, a week later, we're going up north for a road trip, and we're just kind of going on a road trip. We would do this where we'd have conversations and just drive. We both like driving. And I decided, you know what? Hey, I'm going to take an eighth of mushrooms and go on this drive. I didn't think we were going to talk about the project at all. About halfway through the trip, Kyrie starts asking me about the project. And he's like, how do you feel about it? And I was like, I don't want to talk about that right now. I would just like to enjoy this drive. And he just kept poking the bubble and was saying, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? And what ended up happening is we parked at a lake. I'm peaking on mushrooms, and I just start breaking down crying. I'm sobbing uncontrollably. My head is pulsating. My vision is just blurring and then coming in and waving and like, I mean, if you've taken mushrooms before, you know what I'm talking about. I'm seeing patterns everywhere. I'm fucked up right now, to be honest. But on top of that, also, everything hit me. The ethical crisis that was going on inside of my brain just came out and exploded in front of me. And I was just like, oh my God, this doesn't feel good. I feel like shit right now. And I was just crying so much. And what ends up happening is I kind of hallucinated this, but visualized it in my mind, that there was two roads in front of me. And one road had money, had notoriety, had recognition, had all the cool stuff, right? And the other one was very narrow, but what it had at the end of it was purity. And it had a white light at the end of it. And I'm looking at these two roads, and I hear it in my head, inside of my consciousness. And some people will say, Nick, you were just on mushrooms. I say it was divine guidance. I think it was God or an angel or something coming down and trying to guide me in this scenario and telling me, whatever path you choose will set your destiny forever. Choose which path you go on. And I sat there, and again, I'm crying a lot. This song by Biggie Smalls starts playing called N-Word Bleed. I can't say it, but N-Word Bleed. And just the intensity of the scenario. And I literally just say to myself out loud, I don't want to make a decision. And at that moment, I remember hearing the voice again say to me, I have spoken, choose. And I'm sitting there and I'm just crying. I don't want to do this. And again, it says, choose. And I've had that exact line, I have spoken, choose, happen 3 times in my life. Every single time, it has been very, very significant spiritual decisions in my life. And whether you believe in God, whether you believe in universe, whether you believe in source, whatever it is, I know what I heard at that point. I have spoken, choose. I just sat there and realized, like, whatever route I go will actually change my destiny forever, just like what that voice said. And so, I had to ask myself, what am I trying to do? Is this worth it for the money to sell my soul, to sell a product that's full of shit, that's garbage, that's gonna move volume? I mean, I know I'm really good at what I do. I know we're gonna sell a lot of products, but at the cost of lying and manipulating and twisting the word of God, is that worth it? And I asked myself that question, is this worth it? And I just decided no. I said it's not worth it. And so what I did was the next day after, we got back from the road trip, I basically got on a call with the client. I explained to him what happened, and I told him, hey, I don't feel morally okay doing this. I apologize. I'm more than happy to send you back a refund if you'd like. I do think though that just, because we're already getting it going and we're already working together, you guys have other products, other offers, which are not as, let's just call it spiritually heavy as something like what I'm working on right now. They had just survival products that weren't like lying to sell the product itself. And he was, well, I wasn't expecting this. Let me go talk to my partner. And it turned out to be okay. He was like, yep, let's put you on this project instead of this one. And I worked on that project instead. And so the reason I want to tell this story is because I don't think that people really think about this all that much with who they're working with and what type of clients they're working with. Guys, I've seen this and I've been in this industry long enough that the reason why, if you go to these affiliate conferences and you have these guys who immediately like, let's go to the club, and they're blowing money at the club right after the event ends. They go straight to the club, they're blowing the money, they never can really hang on to the money. These guys are rich, they're broke, they're rich, they're broke. The reason why they let go of their money so much is because they don't feel they deserve the money. That's 90% of them. They feel guilty, they do not feel like they actually deserve this money. They had to lie, cheat, and steal to take this money. Here's what I really wanted to explain to you guys today. You should never, ever sell your soul. And you should never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, step over your ethics and over your morals to make money. You should never do that, because there is always another client, a better offer, something else that you can work on. And even if you're going to struggle a little bit for money, look, it's not worth it, because the money comes and goes, but your soul is forever. And you don't want to have to think about that 5 years down the road. And you don't want the karma that comes from that as well. Karmic debt is real, guys. You make a decision. It may not happen 1 year, 2 years. It may take 10 years for it to come back around and smack you in the face. And you're going to actually feel the repercussions of it. So I think this is something that not a lot of people in the marketing industry want to talk about, because guess what? A lot of the marketing industry is black hat, dark matter, just the worst people you can imagine. And personally, I don't give a shit. I really don't, because guess what? I don't work with those types of businesses anyways. And I know that a lot of young guys are watching my content, beginner marketers, people who are just getting started. And I want you to understand today that you should stay as far as possible from those people. They are literally as toxic as you can possibly get. They're not companies that you want to be involved in. You should be focused on working with ethical products that actually help people, business owners that actually have morals. That's who you should be focused on working with, because I promise you, it is not worth the transaction you're about to make. Never sell your soul. Never, ever, ever make that transaction, because the devil will tempt you. He'll do a deal with you, and you have to make the decision whether you actually believe that you are of God and you follow God, or you make a decision that, you know what, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and take it for the money. That's fine. If you want to do that, it's totally fine. But understand that that's a transaction that will stay with you for the rest of your life. And you may try and ignore it, but it will always come back to haunt you. That's my story. I hope you found some value in this. And, obviously people are going to be like, oh, Nick, you got really spiritual with this. Well, I'm a spiritual man. And I'm someone who fears God, and I'm someone who actually respects God. And I think that people not talking about this is a big issue. And so my hope in sharing this message is that I hope you can understand the truth of what I'm saying. And I hope you can walk away from the temptation of these projects where it's someone who clearly doesn't give a shit about their customers, someone who's not the most ethical person, and say, no, I don't want to work with that person. Your soul is worth more than any amount of money they could give you. And you should never sell it, no matter what. That's everything I got for you guys. Now, you may be sitting here thinking, wow, Nick, that was a great story. I really love this content. And if that's the case, thank you. I appreciate you. And if you want some more of that awesome sauce content, what you could do is you can go to my channel, click around on those videos, pick one that just interests you more, and just watch that content, right? Give me a like, give me a comment, whatever you want to help boost this thing on the algorithm. And I will see you on the next video. Alrighty, all the best. Bye now.